It's okay. So I just wanted to show the sideline breastfeeding. Okay, good boy, good boy. Alrighty, so you can see I've turned his bottom so that he's facing me. He's directly on his side, facing me. And I've got him so that his mouth is in line with my nipple there. So his head, they end up being quite low. Like when you position your bubba initially, just pop them down quite low below where your pillow is. They're going to need to be able to tip their head back a little bit. So make sure you've got room for that so that then you can pull them in a little bit behind their shoulder blades just here. Will help them to get their head in the right position so that they don't get their nose buried in your breast. Another little tip that I found, it's once they get more used to attaching on, they'll do this much better. In the early days, some babies don't do this very well, so just be really cautious about using this position. I ended up with a lot of nipple damage with my first baby because I tried to do this one a little bit too frequently in the early part of his breastfeeding. But once they get good at it, it's much nicer. So if you're wanting to use this one at night time and be safe with it, it's good for you to, with your blankets, keep them underneath your armpit so that then they're going to be not smothering your baby. What I did while it was cold was I was just wearing a breastfeeding top that had long sleeves, so I could still expose my nipple but not expose the whole of my top of my chest and get all that skin really cold, and obviously I had my arms covered. Or you could wear a top like this as well, so another breastfeeding top with a cardigan or a zip up jumper over the top, so you've got your arms covered up and they're not getting cold. That works quite well while it was cold weather for me. Highly recommend having a blanket on your bed because babies this age vomit quite often. We had to change our sheets the other day because he had a massive vomit, but he also had a massive poo. Now unfortunately for me, I've not placed him very well on his towel today, so his bum's actually off the towel. It's much better if you can keep them on the towel because then you don't have to change all your sheets. And the other great thing about having them on the towel, instead of picking them up to move them, you can just sort of pull the towel around and that'll move them around the place. And something to watch when they finish feeding is that they flop back onto their back rather than flopping forward onto their stomach. There was a few times with my first baby that I woke up an hour or two later and there he was on his stomach, pretty much burying his face in my bed, and it was a bit scary, to be honest, with all the SIDS information that you hear about for that kind of thing. So do make sure that you have them sort of leaning so that their shoulders back a little bit, so that then when they go to sleep and fall off, they go back onto their back again. That's probably all my big tips for breastfeeding on your side. Pretty much the most important one is being able to let their head extend back a little bit because they'll attach much better if they do that. So don't move their head around to get them closer to you. Do just sort of pop your hand in behind their shoulder blades there, and that just makes it a bit easier to get it right. And good luck!